Now, this video is going to be on a 1997 Crown Victoria Police Interceptor. This is my car, and this morning it decided to blow out the intake manifold. So we're going to go see how bad this really looks. Yep. Streaks from the coolant. Coolant was all over the place this morning. I was thinking I was going to have to rinse this down. Now look at that right there. Nice big crack, all blown out. Some sealer that I used to try to cut down on the amount of leakage, but apparently it sort of worked. Held back the pressure and then it blew out. So we're going to be taking all of this apart. Okay, and we want to evaluate parts. Ironically, not only did it blow out today, but the parts came in today. The alternator brackets. I got two different ones. Not quite really sure why just yet, but I'm sure we will find out. Some kind of a spacer, some small hardware, a cap plug, a couple of spacer shims. I'm sure we'll figure that out as we go along as well. Brand new thermostat. How ironic, I just put a new one in there. And this is the intake manifold. Now this baby, 1996 to 2001, they made these things out of 100% plastic. Even this part up here was plastic. 2002 they redesigned these because the seam right here was pretty well known for blowing out. In my case, thermostat housing right here is blown out, and they also normally crack right along right here because the factory uses a metal fitting in here. And this one here is an all plastic fitting. Okay, well, we're getting the job ready. I'm going to identify some tools. First off, we're going to start off with a white towel to lay our parts on. Some gloves so I don't get my hands too dirty. And a whole bunch of shop cloths. Got the manifold set aside. Got my impact driver so I can remove the hardware quickly. The fuel disconnect tool so we can get the fuel lines undone. Breaker bar for the belt tensioner. 19mm wrench for the temperature sensor fittings. Probably be better off with the socket. I grabbed the socket just in case, just a spark plug socket. I removed the little rubber piece from the inside of it. I got a paint pen so we can label our spark plugs, a pair of pliers, a pair of channel locks, small screwdriver. We're going to be releasing the hood clip so I can tip the hood back maybe. Haven't decided if I want to do that yet. Regular screwdriver for some prying, 10mm deep well, 8mm deep well. These are 1/4 inch drive socket wrench, 1/4 inch drive extension, silicone lubricant spray, silicone lubricant gel, anti-seize for when we put our fittings back in. Also got a couple of paint, or a couple of little buckets for miscellaneous hardware and parts. Got everything here all organized and ready to go. Alrighty, first thing we're going to do is grab the sockets and extensions. Now, Fords, most V8s, start with left-hand cylinder in the front being cylinder number 1, and then they alternate back and forth. Some V8s, they vary a little bit. Sometimes the number 1's over here. Depends on whichever spark plug or cylinder is actually furthest towards the front of the motor. In this case, cylinder 1's over here. So we're going to take the paint marker, and we're going to mark this one number 1, 3, 5, and 7. over here we got 2, 4 I can't get at, 5 and 6 and 8 I can't get at. No, 8 I can get at. Well, we'll get to the other ones when we get to them. First thing we're going to do is take the throttle assembly off. This right here snaps the spring. Attach that, leave this hooked up here kind of carefully. Bottom one, slide the cable out, lift up on it, and a little wiggle, it's out. Okay, get the throttle body disconnected from the cables. Let's take this bracket off. These are 10mm. Using 1/4 inch deep well, just for simplicity. Now I'm going to grab the rechargeable. Just because this makes things a lot faster. Take this, slide this out of the way, and we'll put the studs right back down in here. This way here we don't lose track of where anything goes. It's a very good habit to try to get into. Always put your pieces back in where they came from. You'll never have a problem remembering where they go. Disconnect this hose. That out of the way, disconnect this plug. Now we can take the throttle and just move it out of the way. And with pliers, clamp, slide it back. And again with the pliers, grab a hold of the hose and give it a twist back and forth to loosen it up. And then that's off. Let's take that, tuck that down right here. Alright, let's see where do we want to go next. Unplug this. Work on the plugs. Vacuum lines, leave these hooked up here. Pull the EGR, that's the easiest thing. Or EGR, PVC. PCV. Never get that one right. Okay. Just runs back here. We'll disconnect it from underneath here so we can leave it hooked up to the throttle body. Now remember, that's where that goes. So if I forget, I can always go back to the video. We'll just move this up out of the way. Okay. We got a vacuum line here, a pair of pliers. Careful you don't break anything off in the process. Bracket here goes over. This is the EGR valve. Cables. Okay, now the cables are going to migrate to the other side of the car. Stuck these down out of the way here. All right. Now I switch to the 8mm, and we'll loosen up the tube here. This one's quite dried out. Let's loosen the hose clamp up, slide it back out of place. lines out the back side of it. And I'll get this out of the way. You see, I'm not wearing the gloves. Right. Seriously, people, unless you really like scrubbing your hands all the time, wear gloves. Okay, let's get this, all this wiring off here. Go with EGR. Okay, I think that bracket right there. Okay, we'll take that off, get this out of the way. One down at the bottom of the bracket right behind the EGR. And one right here behind the throttle body. One bracket out of the way. We'll set that up here for now. Okay, get the EGR. And that goes down and back there someplace. So what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect it right here, right at the throttle body. That's 10 millimeter also. Okay, we're going to need a wrench for that. Parts tray, another one behind here. Now, the one in the back is slightly longer than the one in the front. So what we're going to do is move the EGR out of the way here. I'm going to put the short one back in the front so we don't get these mixed up. And we'll slide the EGR down. That up some more. And get the back bolt in. Okay. I don't want to damage that gasket too much. Alright. Let's take care of the 4 screws that hold the throttle body down. That's an 8 millimeter. One right here. Okay, got that vacuum hose, disconnected that vacuum hose. Everything here, disconnect from the EGR. Okay, something's holding it down. And we got another bolt back here. All 5 of those were exactly the same. So, the throttle body is now removed. And could probably stand for see some cleaning. We'll put that over on the white towel. Okay, let's get to these alternator mounting brackets. Got 1, 2, 3 screws here. Those are also 8. And I don't think this is actually a mounting bracket for the alternator. I think this is just for wiring. Now there's 2 short ones and 1 long one. One long one goes directly behind the alternator. So let's lift this up out of the way. And it looks like we're going to have to undo the alternator as well. The thing I forgot to do is whenever you're doing stuff that involves electrical, disconnect the negative terminal from the battery. Alright, got the negative terminal disconnected. I'm going to take the 10 millimeter and wrench and disconnect it. Now hold the wire so you don't end up torquing the plastic fitting. And that'd be a bad thing to break that off. And you'd be looking at a really expensive high output alternator to be replacing. You can shop around for a used one, go to the auto parts stores, or even go to a junkyard, but you go to an auto parts store, you're probably going to be looking at well over $150 for that high output alternator. And we got a little plug down here. It's going to be a little tricky one. Very, 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 very gentle with this. Is it plastic? And keep in mind, plastic is exposed to high temperatures for a very long period of time. It becomes extremely brittle, which is why these crack. All these little metal fittings, they don't shrink with the plastic. The plastic shrinks when it ages and gets heated, which is why it cracks. Okay, we got the alternator wiring. Let's get these ignition cables out of here. Let's get underneath the holders and just gently twist them up and out of the bracket and slide them off to the front. You gotta be kind of gentle with these, or they very well might break. Tabs might break right off on you. Okay, there's one bracket out of the way. This bracket really doesn't look like the other 2 brackets that I've got. So set that right back here out of the way. My molding's falling off. That's lovely. Good way to keep the stuff that burns off the engine block off your windshield. That's yuck. Alright, we got one more wire down in here. And again, very gentle. Trying to get that up and out of there because plastic breaks. Okay, and we're also fastening down right here. Gentle twisting. And decided to come off the tape. We'll work on taking that out later. Okay. And we got EGR, fuel rail, and let's get this heater hose out of the way. That's also going to be an 8 millimeter. Clamp up and slide it up the hose. Now what I like to do is when I get it up the hose a little bit, just snug it back up. It doesn't slide off the hose and get lost on you. Grab a hold of it with the channel locks. I don't have enough room to move right now, so we're going to go back to concentrating on the fuel rail. See, the fuel rail, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding it down. Retainers. I don't know what that came off of, but I'll try to figure that out. Oh, I see. Okay, they got little safeties. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Probably just to keep the rubber hose from sliding down. I'll take this gasket out. It's in a new manifold. This is already part of the new manifold. There's a gasket we're destroying, so we'll just take that off. Set that up here. Okay, let's get to these. These are also 8mm. This is why I started out with the deep well. Take those 4 out. I'm going to put those in a little parts bucket. Now our fuel rail is disconnected from its mounts. See, everything here is wiggling around nice and easy now. We don't want to separate the fuel injectors from the rail. We want to actually remove the fuel injectors from the intake manifold. So what I'm going to do is, the reason I grabbed the silicone spray, we're going to take the silicone spray, and there's a little tube that comes along with that. Circle a little tube into the nozzle. Be careful, because these things will break off on you if you're not real careful. And we're going to spray a little right down into the base of each one of these fuel injectors. Now our silicone and rubber, really good lubricant. Spray that right down into all 8 of them. One back here, a little hard to get at. A little silicone down in the engine isn't going to hurt it, I hope. I'm just kidding about that. And just gently rock it back and forth. Let that silicone actually work its way down into the O-ring and the injectors. Kind of gentle with it. Get them all wiggling around. Okay, just add a little bit of upward pressure on them. That one's out. That one's out. That one's out. And that one's out. Same thing back here. That one's coming up. That one's up. That one's up. And that one's up. Okay, and we didn't pop any of them out of the rail. That's good. Okay, now over here we're connected to the fuel lines. Plus we also have the wiring. So let's get these wires out of the way. This is snapped over the rail. Get the wiring right off the rail and get that out of the way. Okay, we have nothing left over on this side holding it down. Looking good. Okay. We're underneath the little tab back there. Nothing here. Okay, now we're going to work on the fuel lines. I probably could just take this and slide it and roll it back out of the way, but getting it out from underneath this, I don't know. Could give that a try. Work that underneath the injectors. Take the whole, yeah, okay. So we don't need to actually disconnect these. I'm going to take this tube right here completely out of the way. And 8mm. Slide the clamp back onto the hose. And pull the hose out. And now we get to go hunting for the socket. Alrighty, now we're going to take the fuel rail very carefully, fuel lines and all, and just tip it back here out of the way. Can you say yuck? That one's pretty gross. Alright, now let's see, alternator in the way. Not really sure, doesn't appear to be. Okay, now let's finish numbering those spark plug wires. That's right, that's 2, so this is 4, and that's 6. Thermostat housing, those are 10mm. Always double check which way your tool is going. Last thing you want to do is find out you're tightening it. That's not going to work. Oh, that's not good. Breaking off my tool inside the socket. Okay, let's graduate up to 10mm 3/8 drive. We use an impact wrench, a 1/2 inch drive, a little bit more oomph to it. And we'll do this gradually because I want to use impact. I want to use the pressure of the impact to turn around and get the screw loose and hopefully not break. And that was really light on the throttle with this thing. I'll put the battery back into the light one. Okay, I got the screws out of here, the bolts. Really long bolts going right down through here. These also help to hold down the intake manifold. I'm going to take these, set those in the little parts bucket. And we're going to start working on all the rest of these 10mm. Try to get the rest of those all out. So we already got those 2. Take this right out of the way. Slide that down in here somewhere. Take the thermostat out. Okay, big crack right there. I don't know if you see that. There's a big, that whole thing split all the way across the bottom. All the way across. Okay, let's get the rest of these. Okay, these don't want to come out easy either. Maybe it's time for the heavy duty one. Okay, light throttle. we don't just snap one right off. Right. If you're going to do mobile auto repair, you got to have one of these. There's just got to be another one back here someplace, but I can't see it. Yep, there it is. It's right underneath that wiring harness. And we're going to have to do that one manually. And we'll come up here, get this one. That's. If you happen to notice that any of them are a different length, take a mental note of it. They do like to do that. That one took a little bit more. Alright, now we've got the access to that heater hose. Let's get that out of there. There we go. And the heater hose is now off and out of the way. Now if we had this clamp right here loose, it'd slide right down and fall off right now. Okay. I'm going to pull the wiring harness out of the back. There's a tab back here underneath the EGR line. It's holding this wiring harness down. Alright. Get that up and out of the way. The little metal plate right here holding it also. And there's our bolt right there. Alrighty, that's going to be trickier. Another one to add to the list. All those tools I mentioned before, add a 10mm wrench to it. There's a little short one we can finish getting this out of here. Now if you've got those little swivel sockets, they'd probably come in a lot handier right now. Boy, that bolt's still got a ways to go yet. That wiring harness is really being annoying. Alright. And just to play it safe, same length as the other ones. Alright, now we do a check all the way around. The obstacles. The wiring harness up out of the way. Okay. It looks like we're clear. Yeah, that's ready to come up and out of there. Now we might have to pull the alternator. That's what the breaker bar was for. Yep. Okay. We'll take the wiring here, move this back. And your tensioner is right down here. There's a square in the end of it that you can put a breaker bar into. So we get down in here, right behind the fan, get into that little square hole, and I get it in the right place. We can release the tension on the belt, push it towards the alternator, and lift the belt off the alternator. and then slowly release it back. And if you don't, it'll snap back and give you quite the surprise. Now don't let go of the belt yet, not unless you want to try to figure out how to put all of that back on. Now what I like to do is usually just take something that I can either tie it with, hold it with, put underneath it, somewhere either side, so I can hold it in place. It's really not fun to try to figure out. Now if I put the breaker bar back in, I might be able to get enough slack to get it up around this bolt here. This is kind of fun to do while you're holding the belt. Get the slack, and we'll just take the belt and just set it over that bolt. There we go. Alright, now our alternator is held down underneath by two 10mm bolts, and there doesn't appear to be anything behind it. Oh, okay, so we got two 10mm bolts with no nuts on the back side of them. So we're going to turn around and take those out. 10mm short extension. One long alternator bolt. Now let's get to the other one. Wow, it's still not all the way out yet. There's washers on here. Alright. Lift this up out of the way. And lift the alternator out. Alright. Now back to getting wiring out of the way here. Let's get this manifold out of here. Before we get the manifold out, I'm actually going to pull these out. That's what the 19mm was for. And I've actually gone through every one of my tools. Now remember the green one over on the passenger side. I'll set it over here on this side. And the white one, the gray one, over on the other side. Unfortunately, I don't have a 19mm deep well. The spark plug socket was the closest thing I had. Okay, got everything out of this we need to take out. Let's get this manifold out of here. Okay, now a couple of things that I decided that I wanted to note is that, as I mentioned before, from 1996 to 2001, I used an all plastic manifold. All of this right here is plastic. In 2002 they redesigned and they put metal all the way across. This thermostat housing is all metal. That thermostat housing is all plastic, and as you can see right there, it is very broken. It's split all the way down into the bottom. I don't know if you can really see that here, but all the way down to the bottom. Now another note, this new manifold does not use a gasket. It's molded right into it, it's all part of it. And the bottom side of this, yuck, is plain plastic, whereas the new one here, everything is molded right into it. Bottom of the thermostat housing, everything's molded. So these gaskets here, we're going to need to take these off, and we're going to need to clean up the surface that those are mounted on. And I got most of the sand out of here. Clean that out with a shop vac. So we're going to clean these up, and we're going to start the reassembly. Now let's get these gaskets out of here. That was nice and easy. Little plastic tabs that hold these down and in place. Won't be needing those anymore. Now we got a lot of yuck built up all over this. So we're going to want to clean those off, and this is probably where we're going to need to take these spark plugs out, the spark plug holders. And we don't want to drop anything down inside the intake ports. We're extra special careful here. So what I'm going to do in a few minutes is I'm going to grab some paper towels, and we're going to put some paper towels. We're going to put some paper towels down in there. We're going to have to figure out a way to get what's in there out. But we're going to go get some paper towels, and we're going to fill these holes with paper towels so that nothing falls down in there.